Hey guys, I'm Kamikaze.
And I'm Concept Art.
And welcome to the Tooniverse! Alright, let's go ahead and get this thing started. So, where should we start?
The starting line.
That would be a good idea. Okay. So, it all started in fall of 2012, and you came to me with a book on drawing dragons.
For some reason, this was in the middle of the night, and I told you to, I went and said, see this character Delossus in this book? I want that. Give me character. I want to draw, but I couldn't draw, so I made you do it for me, and then I was sad because I couldn't draw it.
Well, yeah, well, you told me, sort of what you told me was, like, this character was basically, made for the author to have fun with and just goof around with, kind of in a fourth wall kind of artist
mess with them by
character.
coloring them differently, making them change up and stuff, like that one artist in the Daffy cartoon, Duck Amuck.
Yes, yeah, something like that. So that was basically the major inspiration for Pharnus and Friends, and unfortunately,
Fortunately, actually, it did not turn out like that at all.
No, unfortunately, I was going to say, unfortunately, I do not have the original drawing of Pharnus. Which, if I had known we were going to do something like this somewhere down the line, I would have kept that thing.
Insert sad violin music right here.
So we went ahead and grabbed, like, you may have seen notepads like this, you know, where you keep, like...
Look at them, they're so tall. That is unnecessary, my dude, bro.
Yeah. So we had a bunch of those stuffed up in a box of, like, scratch paper, and so we decided to take those and just doodle drawings on the back of them, or at least I did. I went ahead and did that, just combined them.
He drew pictures. I wrote the words and colored the pictures.
I want you to look at the first comic we did, and I just want you to tell everybody what exactly your thought process was when you did this.
So I saw him looking back and forth across the panels for whatever reason. And for some reason, he was scrunching up his mouth near the end. And I thought, there's only one possible reasoning for this. Breakfast.
Yes.
And this jerk who stole his waffles.
Mm-hmm.
Not very nice.
No, that would not be a very nice thing to do.
Don't steal his waffles, especially since waffles are currently his favorite thing in the world. Probably not really.
Well, at the time, yes, we did this whole thing where Pharnus's one great trait was
waffles.
It was kind of like the how Sonic the Hedgehog like chili jogs.
Dogs.
There was no rhyme or reason to it. We just waffles. That was it.
It's time for the chili waffle.
Yeah, the chili waffle. Buy yours now. We went along like this for a bit, and Pharnus sneezed, and that's when it really hit this character, who when I actually drew him with hair, you colored him blonde, which is very fitting. You don't see a lot of blonde main characters.
He looks exactly like if you fused that one Newgrounds game called Fancy Pants Man and ASDF movie.
Yeah.
And that was then they made it a human and blonde and also not very fat. I don't know.
I kind of like to think he's a little more heavy set than the rest, because I have a lot of skinny characters in there.
Anyway, I just saw this and she was like, yeah, I'd believe that. How about some yellow hair? This definitely looks like a very, very white person.
He is. He is probably as white as they come. And then
like boots and Starbucks, everybody.
And then came along the little guy with the strange head, and there's an interesting story to this one. I was in the bathroom at our church, and I stared down at the floor, and I saw this cracked shape in the floor, and I was like, I was like, that is such an interesting shape, I have to draw it. So I went ahead and brought back some pen and paper, and I drew the shape, and that is what became Dippy Doo. It was the strangest thing.
Where the name came from is even more ridiculous.
Oh yes, please do tell us, Meg.
You walked up to me and said, hey, this kid in the comic, he looks pretty nice, name him. And I'm like, Dippy Doo. And the reasoning behind giving him the name Dippy Doo, that one hair gel from Big Nate.
You just came up with that name, and I thought more along the lines of Scooby-Doo or something, or some other Doo from
No,
the
it's
Doo.
a hair gel. Nate was trying to be a rebel.
Yeah, maybe
and it didn't work.
We continued on like this, and it was madness. It was insane. So much paper.
We should have a counter for how many times you say we continued on like this.
Yes, make a drinking game out of every time I say we continued on like this.
I'll get drunk in 5 minutes.
Anyway, we moved along the same for a while. At one point we did comics in on to Christmas time, and I wanted to do a little animation to continue a plot line from one of the comics, which was Dippy trying to help Pharnus learn how to fly. And the idea would be that Pharnus would finally overcome that hurdle and finally fly, in order to pull Santa's sleigh and save Christmas, because all his reindeer were sick.
A lot like Superman. Also, all the reindeer got sick all at once.
Yeah.
Every single one of the 8-9 reindeer.
Now, this was before I knew of the miracle and hell that is Adobe Flash, and...
Children, in 2012, we know you all tried to animate in MS Paint. We were not excluded from this.
I gave up. That's pretty much the way to say it. I gave up. That is what happened.
This was the
no
worst
joke, no lie.
thing that ever happened.
I mean, if I had continued on, I think the animation would look worse than Rocky and Bullwinkle, but at any rate, it probably would have been finished. But nope, I gave up. I just gave up, and at the same time, I also gave up on the comics and went ahead and drew a little funeral comic. But then I had a few more jokes that I needed to get out, and so I went ahead and brought them back. I just didn't bother coloring them as often because it was like I was wasting a lot of colored pencil. Was part of the reason I gave up on it for a while and wanted to move into the computer graphics. And
also, without my approval, read 10,000 new characters and okay. My younger self was so bossy and pretentious. This is like, you can't have all of these characters. There are so many. I am not mentally prepared for all of these people.
I think you need to understand. I think you need to understand that it was only like at the time I only really added 3 characters, because in one of the comics that got torn down, we did mention the mayor. It was the first time I had visually portrayed him in one of these comics and actually revealed that he was that other guy's father.
And there was Gilead to go to yin and yang.
What ended up happening was I kept going on the paper and I was like, okay, I gotta do something else with this. And I went to an art trade school at the beginning of 2013, and I went ahead and took a course on Adobe Flash animation because why not? And it turned out I was actually pretty good at animating. Actually, one of the first few things I animated was this little animation of a guy rock climbing and falling on his poor little head. Another one that I did was a lip sync test with Grim from Billy and Mandy.
Yeah. Just remember, don't swallow this gum.
Why not?
Trust me, you don't want to know. If I had skin, it'd be crawling all over the place.
Lip sync was all it was. He literally stood in one place and moved his arms.
Yeah. Let me tell you guys, you can go to namegameworks.blogspot.com, and just like the Pharnus and Friends advertisement says, you can see that the first post was made on July 13th of 2013. And that is why we're celebrating it today instead of some nameless date in the middle of fall.
The secret was, I wanted all the animation. My bossy, pretentious butt wanted all the animations to be like exactly like the comics, but they're animated now. And it's like, make it like the first one with the salsa. Yeah, do it.
Okay. And so we did the hot sauce thing, we did Bueno Waffle Breakfast, and I wanted to continue doing comics alongside animation to continue storylines like we had been doing with the comic strips, only this time animation would offer us a new level for how to tell jokes and be able to string them together and make them much more quick, and be able to, do things outside of the restrictions of 4 still images. I decided to animate the whole dang thing, and I have to admit, 2013 was a good year for Pharnus and Friends. Because even though very little was done, things were done. But in 2014, things fell completely apart.
Dun dun dun!
I think I literally sank into some kind of depression and self-pity for not being able to get the cartoon to look the way I wanted, and I eventually just gave up on Meet Me at the Fair
Story of Arts.
altogether.
Like
All of
ever.
2014 was basically the mess that was trying to do Meet Me at the Fair.
It was meat.
So, the cartoon basically was, the mayor was going to send Pharnus and Dippy to be safety inspectors at this carnival that had just rolled into town to make sure that nothing was, unsafe. And it turned out that the carnival was filled with carnivores, the Carnivore Carnival.
It was all a lie.
So, and basically, the whole idea was for them to eat Pharnus and Dippy. And unfortunately, that plan fell through on both ends. So, everything just fell apart in the end, really, story-wise. It just devolved into, screw it, threw up our hands, and then decided to just go wacky. Wacky.
Lions and tigers and lions and
But
tigers
the cartoon...
and bunnies, apparently.
What happened, it was instead going to be Pharnus and Dippy, being bored. Just being the most bored they possibly could be.
You're boring.
And then they heard about a carnival that came to town. The Carnival, which is just a cover for the Carnivore Carnival. Because, carnivores aren't exactly that clever with names. It completely fell through. Total bust. But what we do have for you is actually one last attempt we had to do the cartoon in a small little storyboard segment. With actually a better introduction to the characters and situation, too. So, here's that.
Hey, look! It's the Carnival!
Isn't that traveling carnival that travels like a carnival?
You bet it is. 2, please.
Alright, that'll be absolutely free.
Really?
Yeah, it turns out it's International Give Stuff to Dragons for Free Day. Apparently.
Really?
Yes?
Okay, I'll buy it. Well, Dippy, where do you think we should go first?
How about toward the nearest exit?
Oh, come on, Dippy. I know it looks like Tim Burton's lemonade stand, but it can't possibly be that bad. I mean, it's not like that lion plans on eating us or anything, right?
You're an idiot.
Then it's a good thing we didn't come to give free stuff on Morons Day. That would have been embarrassing.
Well, someone's gonna make sure he doesn't get himself killed.
Can I play?
Yeah, why not? Knock yourself out.
Little help? Gee, thanks.
No prob.
Oh! Oh! Now wait a minute. Yeah, let's see you try that again.
By the end of 2014, that's what we were doing. We were storyboarding new cartoons and getting new ideas out there. And eventually those fell through. But what didn't fall through was an idea for something that would ultimately turn
Change
into...
Pharnus and friends forever until the Fire Nation attacked.
Yes, the Fire Nation. Yeah, that was Prank Wars. But before we get into that, let's talk about the Party Caper for a bit here.
Yes, it certainly was. We spent most of the time that was spent the cartoon was spent trying to figure out how it was going to happen. And then he was rushing to get it by the release date, so it wound up a lot shorter, but still really good. And he was really, really insistent on dropping a piano on Pharnus, even though I disagreed. But in the end, that did turn out to be the better idea. The Piano Man 2015. You win the piano.
That was the best summary. I can't really add anything to that. Oh, yes. So let's talk about Prank Wars now, because there was a big gap from the Party Caper to Prank Wars.
This whole cartoon is literally my favorite in the whole series.
It is, isn't it?
Yes, for a lot of reasons.
I
One, I came up with the story idea.
Okay, so...
Let's go back to that thing in Bueno Waffle Breakfast where we based junk off the comics, except not the actual comics, just the personalities they had in there.
The idea was that Pharnus and that other guy were at odds with each other whenever they were, like, pulling pranks on each other. They were friendly otherwise, but that was the major, tear between the two of them. Then I followed up Prank Wars, not in the same way I would want to, but again, we'll get into that with a commentary in the future, with Sailor Goon, and honestly, I had a lot of fun with that, and I'm actually watching Sailor Moon in my spare time, which is also it's a very fun cartoon. And if you're curious, I am watching the subtitled version, not the dubbed version. So in the end, we're still working on Packies, which was supposed to be our Halloween masterpiece of 2015.
Now it's gonna be the something masterpiece of something 16.
Actually, thinking back on this, I actually noticed something similar between 2014 and 2016. It's taking way too long for one cartoon to get done. It is taking up most of the year.
But
the only difference is I am not giving up this time.
We're actually doing the Freddy.
Yes, you can go ahead and say it. It's a Five Nights at Freddy's parody called Four Nights at Packies.
Freddy's.
And if you want to say, like, oh, I hate Five Nights at Freddy's, well then, consider it a parody of Chuck E. Cheese, because that was my fallback. So I hope you guys still look forward to that. And now, for the big one, one video that we still had yet to release that we formerly made was the TV show style intro. I'll go ahead and put a link to that right here, and you can go watch it. We went ahead and recolored it and re-instrumentated it.
You did that. I don't animate anything except for that one animatic in the Fornap.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and like point that out in the credits.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I'm Kamikaze.
And I am trying my best.
We'll see you later. Toodles!
Screaming.